So my name is Munah Holland, and I'm a Tiger Schulman instructor in North Plainfield, New Jersey. Prior to becoming an instructor, I was also a student and became a fighter. I fought over 100 different times, and it really taught me a lot about myself and what I was capable of, and also that I was a lot tougher mentally and emotionally than I really knew I was. However, before doing martial arts, things were really difficult. I was in a pretty dark place. I was unhappy, depressed, overweight, and miserable. You know, things were bleak. So after high school, I'd gained 50 pounds of fat, and going into my first year of college, I was super overweight. I was miserable about my physique. I was starting to feel miserable inside. I was really empty, right? So I would go into a room, a party with hundreds of people there. You know, I would feel completely alone. Look, if you're depressed and you're empty, it doesn't matter how many people are around you, because at the end of the day, you are with yourself, right? In that space. So I couldn't get away from myself. That's just where I was just sitting in this empty space. Every relationship in my life was fairly negative, right? And I allowed myself to be treated poorly because I didn't care about myself. And so that emptiness, that darkness, that bleakness, the hopelessness just got worse and worse and worse and darker. Like a snake in its prey, right? Just squeezing the guts out of it. It's like what I felt. Whatever bit of hope was there was just drowning. And so that depression became all that I could think about. So my sister, Rafia Crawford, she was doing martial arts at the time. She kept talking about how happy she was, and she was sending me pictures of how fit she was. I mean, she was shredded and she looked amazing. So she said, you have to come and do a class with me. And I was like, you're out of your mind. I'm 50 pounds overweight and, you know, can't lift my own foot above my knee, let alone like the idea of throwing a kick was horrifying. But I think she knew me well and knew that the challenge would be good for me. So I decided to go and see her first. I didn't agree to anything. I just thought, let me go watch her. So we were at her school, and she was actually sparring, and she was handedly making mincemeat out of these guys. And then when they were done sparring, they were all like hugging each other and high-fiving, and I was like, this is the weirdest environment I've ever seen in my life. Like, people are beating each other up and then they're like super friendly afterward. But it seemed cool. There was part of me that was really interested and kind of enticed by the whole thing. So after watching her, she said, oh, you're going to do a trial class now. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. And she goes, no, you're not going to spar. That's not like a beginner level, you know. She's like, you're just going to hit some pads. And, you know, your instructor, Paul Carrido, and he'll just teach you some basics. And I was like, no, you're absolutely crazy. I can't do this. And she's like, come on, you got to try. And I'm like, I'm overweight, I'm, you know, fat. So she nudges me on the mat. And then Sensei Carrido was so great. He was very patient, very succinct, technically, right? Like, so showed me exactly what to do, but made me feel that I could do it. And I remember the first time I hit the actual pad, that feeling, that physical connection, yeah, it brought me back to life. I was just in such a weird state, the depression, all of that. And to be honest, my sister getting me there, I think that was her point, was to put me in a position where I challenged myself, where I couldn't think about my depression. I could only think about feeling what I was feeling while I was doing it. That physical, emotional connection to myself. Making my mind come out of this place of sadness and hopelessness into this place of, you can do it, Munah. Like, this is the bridge, this is the tunnel you need, this is the navigation you need to escape from where you are, right? And so we have to find a way through that adversity, but I didn't have a way, and suddenly here was a way. So now at this point, you know, I'd lost like 50 pounds of fat, right? So I went from 40% body fat down below 20%. I was moving up in the levels and I was feeling good, but I started to feel like there's something else I need. And in comes Sensei Kurito right at that moment. And he was like, we're going to start competing. I'm going to start putting you in tournaments. And I was horrified and also gratified at the same time. Like, okay, this is the challenge I need. This is the more that I need, right? This is what I need to sort of keep myself pushing through adversity and overcoming all the obstacles of my own mind. And he was just so encouraging. And I think for me, he knew I was capable, and that made me feel that I was capable. And so we started doing jiu-jitsu tournaments and kickboxing tournaments, and then eventually MMA. So it was reaching for that challenge that was that next level for me of really finding myself and figuring out what I was really capable of, and also the fear of failure. Instead of the past where I would have said failure was the main thing I focused on, now it was like, how am I going to beat that down and overcome that to succeed? And that was the difference. I was rising up to that challenge and ready for it. You know, that fear, the fear of failure is real, it's large, it's in your mind. But fighting it, overcoming it, challenging myself to navigate through that was what gave me contentment, what gave me peace. And I know that sounds odd because fear is such a negative thing, right? Failure, when people hear those words, are so negative. But finding and navigating a way through fear and failure is so empowering. Like, I would walk up to a cage, right? And I wouldn't hear the crowd, but I would feel the vibration of the energy. So there wasn't a negative moment in my mind at that point. It was all sort of like this feeling of contentment and pride and power and strength. I used to go into a room with 100 people and feel empty. Now I'm in a room of hundreds of thousands of people and I feel fulfilled. And that has nothing to do with the people in the room. It had everything to do with the fulfillment that I got from learning martial arts. People say, failure is an option, right? Well, it's always an option, you know. It doesn't have to be an option you accept. So you're going to fall flat on your ass more often than you don't. You're going to fail more often than you succeed. The difference is you didn't give up when others did. You have the tools to actually successfully navigate those failures, to overcome them, to build a bridge, to build a tunnel. We all are capable of overcoming those adversities. We all have the power to do it. We all have the strength to do it. You have to figure out, do you want to do it? And how are you going to do it? And it's that challenge of life that is the thriving, connective energy that makes you stronger, that makes you feel like iron. And look, there's going to be breaks in that iron. There's going to be, links of the chain that start to fall apart, right? Which is you. And just like a steel worker, you're going to go to work on that chain, man. You're going to get that fire. You're going to burn into that chain. You're going to build it stronger. You're going to resync that chain. And every time you do that, every time you overcome that adversity, that failure, every time you fall flat on your ass and you get back up, you are rebuilding that link stronger and stronger and stronger, making yourself that much more capable to succeed. You will still fail sometimes, but the difference is every time you will succeed greater and you will achieve more because you have the tools to do it.